and your life is filled with pain. Take a look around you, hear the wind, feel the rain. Touch a child that's newly born, see a miracle without end. Then I'm sure you'll understand that through the darkest night you have a friend. He's always there, no matter what you do. Through hurt and disappointment, he'll be there to carry you. So don't run away, there is no place to hide. Remember, down this weary path of life, God is by your side. When a small child falls and tumbles, his pain is hard to bear. He runs into his mother's arms, he finds a comfort there. So if you have a hurt inside you that you feel will never mend, just take a look around you, feel the love, and know you've always got a friend. He's always there, no matter what you do. Through hurt and disappointment, he'll be there to carry you. So don't run away, there is no place to hide. Remember, down this weary path of life, God is by your side. So don't run away, there is no place to hide. Remember, down this weary path of life, God is by your side.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vanessa Rankin, and I'm a civil celebrant. I'd like to welcome you all here today for a celebration service for the life of Pamela Heath. I would also like to welcome our viewers using the live streaming joining us. When I met with Ken and Kimberly, Ken was very clear that he wanted to choose some special songs that he and Pam loved. So we will be listening to a few of these today. He also expressed that he and Pam enjoyed a Christian lifestyle, and he has selected some psalms and prayers to be shared with you today also. It is my privilege to conduct this service for Pam and stand here with you as you mourn the loss of a special person in your lives. We are here today to acknowledge the passing of Pam and to extend our deepest sympathy to all who mourn her death. We express our deepest sympathy to Pam's family, her loving husband Ken, her beloved daughter Kimberly, and partner Bowden. Pam loved her family with her whole heart. I'd like to share a poem that's been selected, and as you know, Pam was a great gardener and loved her flowers, and this poem reflects that. God looked around his garden and he found an empty place. He then looked down upon the earth and he saw your tired face. He put his arms around you and lifted you to rest. God's garden must be beautiful. He always takes the best. He knew you were weary. He knew things weren't the same. He knew that you would never get well on earth again. He saw the road was getting rough and the hills were hard to climb. So he closed your weary eyelids and whispered, "Peace be thine." It broke our heart to lose you, but you didn't go alone, for a part of us went with you the day that God called you home. So we're now going to listen to a beautiful hymn that Ken selected. It's called "The Lord is My Shepherd" and it's sung by Harry Seacombe.
The Lord's my shepherd, I'll not want. He makes me down to lie in pastures green. He leadeth me the quiet waters by. My soul he doth restore again, and me to walk doth make within the paths of righteousness, even for his own name's sake. Yea, though I walk in death's dark vale, yet will I fear not ill, for thou art with me, and thy rod and staff me comfort still. My table thou hast furnished in presence of my foes. My head thou dost with oil anoint, and my cup overflows. Goodness and mercy all my life shall surely follow me, and in God's house forevermore my dwelling place shall be.
Today, our grief and sorrow is all the more painful by Pam's sudden and unexpected passing. In some ways, our grief is intensified as there has been no real opportunity to prepare for the loss, say goodbye, finish unfinished business, or prepare for bereavement. Trying to make sense of it all is difficult, and it's important to allow yourself to grieve in your own individual way and heal in your own time. We are here to pay our last respects and bid a sad farewell to Pam. Pay our tribute to her life and in our own way express our love and admiration for Pam. We have all been deeply hurt by her sudden death because she was taken from her family and friends too early. We have all stopped the onrush of our lives today and have paused to reflect upon Pam's life. Naturally, everyone is experiencing a whirlwind of emotion and shock by such a sudden loss. But today is a time to share thoughts and memories of Pam and to provide some consolation to her family and friends who loved her dearly. And I know she'll be greatly missed by all of you. A tribute to Pam's life is the large attendance we see here today. Pam was obviously very well known and very well loved. Hold on to your precious memories of Pam, for in them her spirit lives on, forever cherished and deeply loved by you all. Pam loved her family and was loved in return by them. Her spirit and her life were and still are a part of your spirit and life. Although you mourn her loss today, there is something of Pam that remains. Her influence has not ended with her physical death. Her warmth, love and values were offered and shared, and they have become a living part of you. I don't think any of us are ever truly ready to say goodbye to a loved one, no matter how it happens. We all wish we could have had more time to hold on to Pam, just a little bit longer. There is something inside us that wishes it all had been a bad dream. Our longings leave us tired and aching inside from grief. But you need not feel that way, although it's true that there was so much more of life that Pam wanted to experience. There was an enormous amount of things that Pam had already experienced. Pam's great love in her life was her husband Ken and daughter Kimberly. Pam's life touched many people and touched them deeply. She was always happy. Her smile and calm demeanour will be missed. Pam was well known and respected in her community. She loved all her friends. Her friends were her family, equally in love. Pam was hardworking, good-spirited. She never said a bad word about anybody, and Pam had such a beautiful, kind soul. And this was reflected on Facebook with all the memorials that were contributed to her passing. There were some beautiful comments, many, many comments. Pam loved cooking and she loved gardening. And her home reflects her love for her flowers and pot plants. I'm actually not sure how Ken managed to squeeze in the kitchen without being strangled by a vigorous growing plant. Pam worked hard on the farm and she loved her animals. Pam and Ken walked together for 37 years of a loving, happy and great marriage. They were a beacon of strength, love and resilience throughout their lives. They were a team, equally valuing their contributions to their very busy lives. Their mutual respect was indeed a beautiful quality and a life lesson, a testament to the deep bond they shared. The love they shared and the indelible marks that Pam has left on the hearts of all those who are fortunate to have known her. One thing is for sure, all her families and friends will miss her big cuddles. And now to share some more stories of Pam's life, I'd like to invite Andrew Mathers to come forward and speak on behalf of his mother, Carol. Up or you've got a loud voice?
I've got a loud voice, Vanessa. I'll handle it. Thanks, Vanessa. Good morning, everyone. To Ken, Kimberly and family, on behalf of the Mathers family, I extend my heartfelt condolences to you all during this really sad time. As a bit of background as to how I find myself in front of you all today, I spoke to Mum on Sunday to see how she was going and to let her know that I'd be making the trip from Geelong to be with you today. On the request of Kimberly, Mum had penned some wonderful memories of Pam on paper in preparation for today. Anyway, Mum's emotions went from truly honoured to slightly mortified when she realised not only did she have to write something, she'd have to stand up in front of you all and read it. "I can't, I'll cry," said Mum. "Mum, you're allowed to cry. Pam was your friend and it's a funeral. It comes with the territory." Mum then proceeded to inform, unbeknown to me at the time, that no, I've told Kimberly you're doing it, you're good at it. So here I am, and despite the last minute call up, it is an absolute honour to speak on behalf of Mum today. To our beautiful Pam, we will all miss you. Pam was a fun-loving, kind-hearted, and in the best possible way, crazy lady. When David, our dad, passed away suddenly in September 2001, the family, well, more specifically Mum and my sister Kendra, were left to pick up the pieces of Mum and Dad's newly minted dream of running the Cobram Central Nursery. Pam was working at the Cobram Central Hotel at the time, and like clockwork would come in every day after she finished her shift and help out for a few hours at the nursery. She would water plants, help with cleaning, and was right at home with that big personality, chatting to customers and helping them with her extensive knowledge of plants. Pam was a people person and was such a wonderful and much needed support to Mum and Kendra. We are forever grateful. Pam, Ken and Kimberly were locked in regulars at the Mathers household for Christmas lunch or tea over the last 30 years. Pam was never one to come empty-handed and would always bring an enormous homemade pav and platters of meat and salads. One faithful year that we will never forget, Pam got very creative and whipped up her now infamous marshmallow and orange salad. It tasted as good as it sounds. I actually Googled it this week to see if it was actually a recipe. I can confirm this was a bona fide Pam Heath original. We all tried it. Well, actually, to be honest, we're all forced to try it, but none of us could eat it. It was, sorry Pam, truly awful. She never made it again, thank goodness. Once was clearly enough. Despite a few creative speed bumps, Pam was an amazing cook. But with the true temperament of the great chefs of our time, Pam also had very strong ideas. She would ask for a recipe and without fail, change it to suit herself. The last one we can remember was Mum's fruitcake recipe, which had no less than 3 cups of brown sugar in it. Pam didn't agree with this, too much sugar. 1 cup is more than enough. Well, of course, it flopped. The next phone call was to Mum, as it was clearly Mum's fault that didn't work, and that was that. Pam was an amazing cake decorator, doing both wedding and birthday cakes. I'll never forget my 21st birthday cake. I was heading overseas backpacking a few days after the celebration, so Pam decided to give it an Australiana theme. It was decorated with gum leaves, wattle, gum nuts, the works. It did look sensational, and it was very Aussie. Pam spent many hours teaching Kendra her cake decorating skills which Kendra will always cherish. We've had many a cake decorating challenge at Christmas over the years. When God gave out voices, he gave Pam a double dose. No need for a doorbell if you had a visit from Pam. All you'd hear is, ooh, and she would walk straight in, put the kettle on, start washing any dishes and wiping down the benches. Pam didn't sit still. She never stopped working no matter where she was. That was her thing. Helping was in her DNA. Mum and Pam became great friends after she moved to Seppelts Road, Barooga. Beau was just a baby, and soon after they arrived, Kimberly was born. Over the years, Pam looked after Beau when Mum was at work, and in turn, Mum looked after Kim when Pam was at work. From then on, they became very close friends. In saying that, however, Mum does recall a time about 20 years ago when Pam had her bone marrow transplant. It was a big operation and recuperation was required. It was decided that Pam would come and stay with us for 6 weeks with Mum and Beau in Cobram while she recovered. Mum said it was the longest 6 weeks of her life. Pam was a wonderful lady, but a terrible patient. She was not used to people doing things for her and struggled with resting and not being able to leave the house. She was always on the go. Pam has always been one of the family. My brother Beau has called her his second mum forever. Beau remembers driving into Barooga on many occasions with Pam to get fuel. The car was always on the red light, so Pam would turn off the air conditioning in the middle of summer to save fuel to make sure they made it. Pam was a very independent woman. She not only had her own way of doing things, she had her own way of saying things. As an example, she referred to the local shop Pirates Treasure House as Treasure Pilots. Pam knew what she meant, and that shop will always be Treasure Pilots to us. During our time in Barooga, Mum and Pam decided one day to get fit and lose weight. So for weeks and months they walked 5 kilometres up Stockroot Road each morning after dropping Kimberly and Beau off at the bus stop. During these daily walks, Mum and Pam solved the world's problems. After their daily workout, they would get back to Mum's house, sit down for a well-earned cuppa, and in true athlete style, a piece of cake. Or two. Needless to say, neither of them lost any weight. Pam was always up for a bit of fun and had a very healthy, cheeky side. In the year 2000, we had the Olympic torch on loan at our house. After Mum's birthday, Dad decided he would pose for a photo with his athletic truck driver's body on full display. Dad stripped down to his underwear and held the torch high. Pam, not to be outdone, stripped down to her petticoat and jumped in the photo too. The two of them were a sight for sore eyes. We've been searching for this photo over the last week, but haven't been able to locate it yet, and I'm not sure we want to. On another fun outing, Mum and Pam were driving to Melbourne. Now, with absolute respect, we knew that Pam's legs weren't her best asset. On this fateful day, Pam decided, for some reason only known to Pam, that the truck driver they were passing on the freeway at that very moment needed some entertaining. So with that, Pam pulled up a dress as high as she possibly could, while still ensuring all modesty was maintained, so the poor unsuspecting driver and quite a few other truckies as they passed, I might add, could check out Pam's amazing legs as they drove past. What a treat. The more Mum told Pam to stop it, the worse it got. We can only imagine the conversations at the next truck stop. Pam was unique. As I mentioned earlier, she had her own way of doing most things, including how to play the pokies. For luck, she'd like to give them a tickle, literally. Pam says, if to make them pay, you need to give them a rub and a tickle. She was known to get some interesting looks from people passing by, but I have it on good authority that Kendra has tested this theory, and it is known to work. Pam wasn't really interested in going on holidays. It wasn't her thing. However, Mum convinced her on one occasion, and they took Kimberly and Beau on a driving holiday up to Queensland. Mum drove, Pam had the map. No Google in those days, and Kim and Beau in the back. Legend has it that Pam's sense of direction is actually worse than Mum's, which is no mean feat because Mum could get lost down a one-way street. Somehow they ended up on the main highway off a dirt goat track somewhere in the hills. No idea how they got there, no idea how to get out, and after an hour or so of driving and the spinning of the map, they finally managed to get back on the highway and make it to Queensland. They visited the theme parks, Australia Zoo, and then on to Gympie to visit Pam's mum and their old family farm. Also stopping at Robin's house for a few days on the way home. Pam loved clothes. She always looked amazing. Everything had to match, even the jewels. She liked to wear a different outfit every time she went to the doctor's. Pam telling Mum that the girls at the clinic would say, "Here she comes. What are you wearing today?" Pam secretly loved the attention and made a special effort each time she went just to hear the girls' comments. Pam also liked to shop, although I'm not sure if it was for herself or just to help Mum spend her money. The last shopping trip Mum had with Pam, Mum came home with no less than 8 jumpers, 4 pairs of pants, a few jewels to match, and of course, no money. Pam loved her garden and Mum's. Most visits they would find a particular plant that took their fancy and take a cutting, then proceed to have long phone calls about plants and plant problems. Not sure they solved any plant-related issues, but at least they tried. Pam loved kids, always knitting jumpers and rugs for Mum's 12 grandkids. She was always interested in our lives and loved seeing us grow up over the years and making a special effort whenever we came home to visit Mum. We do have to mention Pam's 80th birthday, which Mum and her sister Kathleen organised. They arranged a special high tea for Pam at Mum's house. The table, of course, was set for a queen. Pam was so excited and brought to tears by the sight of it. She had an amazing day. One of her gifts was a very large lace G-string. Pam, with her humour, deciding to wear it on her head to look like a nun. Pam then began to bless everyone around the table. She was one crazy lady. Pam was still talking about that day, the very last time Mum saw her. It made all involved so proud and so happy to give something back to such a kind, generous and loving lady with a true heart of gold. Over the last 37 years, Pam, Ken and Kimberly became our family, celebrating every milestone: birthday, Deb balls, weddings, babies, happy times and sad times. We all have beautiful memories of Pam and the wonderfully positive impact she had on each of our lives. She will be forever in our hearts. Finally, it seems only appropriate to quote another Queen, Queen Elizabeth, when I say, "Grief is the price we pay for love." Goodbye, gorgeous Pam. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. What a great stories, and what a great reflection on Pam's life. Fabulous. It's a hard act to follow, isn't it? But I think the next speaker is Alana Harrison, and she's been a friend of Pam's for more than 45 years. So thanks, Alana.
Well, I don't know what kind of an act I'm going to be, Andrew. I'm almost double the time. As you've said, I've known Pam for 46 years, but I'm sure people in this room have known her longer than that. On many a trip to Melbourne, in the car, we would solve the world's problems. Pam and I made a pact. Whoever died first, the other had to speak at the funeral. So sadly, I am. Back in '79, I started working at the Golden Vase Hospital as a chef and met Pam. Pam was the life of the kitchen, always involved in practical jokes or laughing about something funny that had happened to her. Her joyful personality was infectious. One day while working, fish soup was on the menu. Oh, I couldn't bear the smell of the fish. So Pam says, "I'll do it. I'll flake the meat and I'll bring it down to you." So she brought it down to me in the diet kitchen and put it in the big industrial blender with some liquid. She got organised and then said to me, "Go for it." So I pressed the button. Well, I think you've figured out what happens next. Fish soup explosion. It was everywhere. Up the walls, on the benches, on the ceiling, and all over us, of course. Pam laughed so hard, and then she realised she hadn't clicked the lid on. Oops. It was during the years working in the hospital that she dated Ken. Weekly visits to Barooga. And vividly, I remember one day in the smoko room where everyone always took off their hat and apron and threw them on a chair. And I commented, Pam kept her hat on, and I commented that the hat made my head itchy, so I couldn't wait to get it off. Pam was adamant that she wasn't taking hers off. Eventually she confessed that she was meeting Ken later in the morning and they were going to the races. Pam's style to get her head start on her beauty preparation. Under her hat, she had a head full of rollers. Ever efficient, Pam commented that she was saving time as it was one less job that she had to do when she got home. Pam and Ken got married and along came Kimberly. They were settled in a farm in Seppels Road, Barooga, where they currently reside. Pam started working at the Toke Bowls Club. I remember one occasion we visited and Pam was working, so we went there for lunch. Pam was talking to us and someone on the staff came and said, could they have the payout book? So Pam reaches down into her bra and pulls out a set of keys, a book, a pen, the money bag, and other things. And when finished, she looked at my daughter Sarah, who was 12 at the time, and said, every woman needs a good office to keep stuff in. To this day, the family joke, and Sarah is just the same as Pam, sticking her car keys or the phone down the office. Pam was a wonderful cook, as you said, Andrew, and fruitcakes were to die for. For Sarah's 21st, she was making the cake. She decided to get organised 5 months in advance, but she was going to be very busy in November when I needed the cake. So after consulting with Gloria on recipes, and of course changing them, she made the cake, and then she realised she didn't have enough room in her freezer, so she rung up Carol. Oh yes, Carol had the room. Come on up. So Pam takes the cake out to the car and drives up to Carol's. But on arrival, there was no cake on the back seat. So where was it, Pam thought? I'm positive I carried it out to the car. So Pam drove home to get the cake, and at the top of the driveway, she saw 3 of the farm dogs gathered around something on the ground, eating. It was that moment that she realised, yes, she had carried the cake out to the car, put it on the top of the roof, got distracted by Ken, and then hopped in the car and drove off. She confessed to me many months later, but I don't think, Gloria, she ever spoke to you about it. Unfortunately, we all know about Pam's suffering health issues and had travelled regularly to Melbourne for treatment. On one of her many trips to St Vincent's Hospital, Pam had 2 appointments, one in the afternoon and one the next morning, so we stayed overnight. As we booked late, the motel room only had 1 bed, so we shared. I got into bed first while Pam got ready. I remember seeing her standing beside the bed. And next second, Pam's head flipped into the bed like a gymnast, ending up lying flat, and I sprung out the bed and I landed on the floor. Due to her illness, or a legs issue, she had devised a unique way of getting into bed, and I'd never seen it before. You know what I'm saying, Ken? Kimberly was the centre of Pam's life, her pride and joy. There wasn't anything she wouldn't do for Kimberly. When Kimberly went on a holiday to Queensland, Pam and I drove her to the airport. So we saw Kimberly off, and then I said, you go over and stand on the ramp, sit on the ramp on your pusher, and I'll go and get the car and bring it up to you. So I did. But Pam wasn't sitting on the pusher at the end of the ramp. No, Pam. I drove a few times around the parking area, and still, no Pam. I asked security if they had seen her. They went away to check, goodness knows what, came back to me and said, could she have driven off? No, I had the keys. Well, could she have taken the bus into the city? No, I've got a handbag and money, and she couldn't have got up the steps in the bus anyhow. Oh well, her name was announced over the loudspeaker, but still no Pam. Finally, I asked a federal policeman to please help me. To cut a long story 2 hours short, they asked me to sit down against the window. And after a bit, I looked, and here is Pam, frozen stiff, with a grin from ear to ear. She'd been sitting on the outside of the window, and I'd been sitting on the inside of the window. She'd been there for 2 hours. I'd only been there for about 2 minutes. Kimberly, you would have arrived in Brisbane, but we laughed all the way home. There were so many funny stories I can tell about Pam. Her love of life, a joyful spirit. She loved her clothes and jewellery, which was commented, I heard behind me. And as my daughter had said, and her shoes. She always looked smart and beautiful with a dazzling smile. Pam loved to chat with friends, especially over lunch or an afternoon tea gathering, or even just a coffee to catch up. She was a regular at the spring races, where she dressed up to the nines and always had a fantastic hat. And she enjoyed the occasional flutter on the pokies, and I'm just so glad that we had a good win the last time we played together. Pam's garden was a great love, a real credit to her determination to not let her illness take away her simple pleasure. It's a beautiful testament to her and to Tracy, who helped her friend enjoy her garden. Living away from in another country, away from my family, Pam became my Australian sister, auntie to Sarah, and great aunt Pam to Rory, my grandchild. She never missed birthdays or special occasions. Rory loved to visit and share stories. It says a lot about her love of when a teenager never misses the chance to see Aunt Pam. You touched our hearts in so many ways and have left a huge hole. We are all devastated and shocked at your passing. You were a wonderful wife and mate to Ken, a fantastic mother to Kimberly, a sister to Robin, and an aunt to Rebecca, and a great, great friend to all of us. You will never be forgotten and will always have a place in our hearts. Our memories of you are precious. I love you, my dear friend, Pam.
Thank you, Alana. They were amazing stories, and I'm just wondering why she put that birthday cake on the roof of the car. Surely she could have put it in her office. And so now to share some more wonderful stories, I'd like to invite Sonia Vodosek to come forward, please, and share some memories with us.
Thank you. Now, they were very hard. It'll be hard to follow Andrew and Alana, but they were amazing. But I think today, my parents, Frank and Maria, were fortunate to call Pam and Ken very close friends for many years. And while Frank is no longer with us, I stand here on behalf of both of them to really share in honouring Pam's memory. Pam was more than just a friend to our family. She was someone who brought lots of joy, laughter and kindness into our lives, similar to what Andrew and Alana have just mentioned. Her straightforward nature, the way she always said things as she saw them, endeared her to all of us. Pam had a unique way of being both candid and compassionate, which is why she had so many friends and people just gravitated towards her because of her warmth and her sincerity. Pam and Ken shared a great relationship. I remember Ken saying to me he met Pam when he was at the pub when he was 20 years old. So it goes a long time ago. And while their partnership took some time for them to get together, it was one of sheer great friendship, loyalty and love. Though we are heartbroken to really say goodbye to Pam, I find comfort in the thought that she's now reunited with Frank up there And I imagine them both laughing, sharing stories, and perhaps even placing a few bets on the heavenly racetrack again. The joy they shared at those race days, Ken, huh? But, especially with their racehorse that they had, Jumping Fly, together. Ken, Pam and Mum, they enjoyed and lost a lot of money. But they had lots of fun. That was the most important thing. Now, over to Mum, who's sitting over there. I know Mum will miss Pam very much. Their friendship was one hell of a strong bond. Pam was there for Mum in so many ways, especially during the toughest times of Mum's illness and Dad's passing. Her kindness and her support and her presence meant the world to her and to us as a family. They were truly great mates, sharing not only the good times, but the difficult times, always lifting each other up. Pam's legacy also lives on through her daughter Kimberly, who my mum was honoured to be godmother of. The connection between Pam and Kimberly was something to admire. Strong, full of love and always supportive. It was always about Kimberly. Kim, your mum's spirit lives on in you, and we are here for you, as she would have been here for us. I too will hold on to memories with Pam because we worked together at the abattoirs in the 80s. And I often stayed at her house for weekends where we had some fun nights. And I will not elaborate, and I will take those to my grave. So Pam, as we say goodbye today, we know you are not far away. You're with Dad now and all friends past. And you're all watching over us right now, I'm sure. We will miss you. Rest in peace. You've certainly earned your place in heaven, and you're in great company. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Wonderful, kind words. And now I'd like to call upon another friend of Pam's, John Lang, to come forward, and I think he's speaking on behalf of another friend as well. So, thanks, John.
Hello, I've been given the honour of speaking on behalf of a very close friend of the family, Kristen, that's sitting with Kimberly. This is from the heart. No doubt I spent time with the other night and you could just feel the warmth. So bear with me so I can show the compassion it deserves. So it reads, Kimberly and I have been friends since I moved to Barooga almost 30 years ago. I was 6-year-old and some of my earliest memories of moving to Barooga was becoming friends with Kim. In turn, that meant Pam would soon be part of my life too. From riding ponies, herding cattle and sheep, jumping on trampolines and eating home cooked meals and cakes, Pam was always treated me as like a daughter, and so did Ken. Pam never missed a swimming event, netball game or tennis match, cheering us on from sideline year after year. I was always welcome on their farm and never felt like I needed an invitation to their home. I am family. I can walk in the door and feel right at home. Many family dinners were had watching the footy. We don't talk about the Saints and the Magpie final, Ken. Pam meant so much to me with our talks in the lounge room and by the fire and the walks around the garden. To Pam, Pam was a hard-working and caring and thoughtful mother who would literally do anything and everything for Kimberly. She was like the heart of the Heath family and will be dearly missed. Her kindness, compassion and strength are qualities she shared with Kimberly. I will miss the love and warmth and that exuded from her but most of all, I will miss her welcoming me into her home. A hole has been left in our hearts by Pam's sudden loss, which has affected us all. May we all find peace in knowing her and in all the memories we had of her. To Kim, you may be the only child by birth, but you'll be always my sister. We are family and you will never be alone because I will always be there. To Ken, I know you will feel her loss, greatly. She cared for you and Kimberly like no other. Take time to reflect on the life she had, what she did for you, and how she will be remembered. Pam, I love you, and I will be here for your Kimberly. This is my little share. On behalf of Ken and Kimberly, we offer a big thank you to family and friends that are here today, with a special mention to Pam's sister Robin for attending all the way from Queensland. I also thank you to those that have offered their condolences that couldn't make it. I'm John Lang, and I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Pam, Ken and Kimberly for welcoming me into their family for the past 4 to 5 years. Our family had purchased a dairy farm and was struggling when Pam, Ken and Kimberly took me under their wing and made me part of their family. Ken and my father had ties from 60 years before, but their kindness was much appreciated. Pam made me feel like part of the family, as she was always there for me with a 4-course meal and a big smile. When they would ring, it was always Pam saying, "When is John coming?" The amazing thing with Pam was through adversity, Pam was always there. The pain Pam endured was immense with her legs and mobility. She showed incredible courage and determination, which reflected on her lawn patch. There was days Pam could hardly drag herself around, but she was going to get that lawn looking like a bowling green, regardless. Pam was the old school and just wanted to be Pam, always giving to family and friends. Sometimes spending time with Pam, I felt like a game show host, with Pam and I trying to find a man for Kimberly. Farmer wants a wife, etc. Pam would be looking down, hoping the wind blows in the right direction for Kimberly. Pam would wish Kimberly only the best for the future. As for Pam being giving, I always think of Pam and her budgies. Pam loved her budgies and they loved her. They will miss her. Pam once gave my daughter Amy a budgie, which I took home. It took us 5 hours to think of a name. Arlo, nice name. We let Arlo out from the cage. Arlo landed in front of the blind dog, and guess what? The dog ate it. No more budgies were offered. Rest in peace, Pam, and thank you.
Thanks very much, John, and thanks to all the speakers. They were wonderful stories that you've shared with us. Thank you. So listening to all those wonderful stories and the fun times that you've all had in Pam life reminds us now that memories are really the greatest possession that we now have. Lovely memories of a character of a woman who was loved and admired by you all. So today, with much love and pride, we shall now acknowledge her life's journey through photos captured by the family. And while watching these, we'll be listening to 2 favourite songs that Ken has selected. There's An Old Cottage Waiting in the Country and Morning Has Broken.
There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for someone to call. There's an old kettle boiling by her, there's an old welcome mat in the hall. There's an old mom and dad there awaiting for a son that's been gone for so long. There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for that boy to come home. Many years ago he had to leave them and travel far across the stormy sea to fight for the things that he believed in, with a song and a guitar on his knee. But they hoped and they prayed he'd return to them. Though the weeks slowly turned into years, many nights they have been so lonely, and many nights there have been many tears. There's an old cottage mat in the hall. There's an old mom and dad there awaiting for a son that's been gone for so long. There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for that boy to come home. The old man is tired and weary, his back bent over with age. The old woman, she sits by the fire and just gazes into the flames. On a table that's standing beside her are the pictures of the son she misses so. The son she held and kissed so dearly when he left her so many years ago. There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for someone to call. There's an old kettle boiling by the fire, and there's an old welcome mat in the hall. There's an old mom there awaiting for a son that's been gone for so long. There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for that boy to come home. There's an old cottage waiting in the country, waiting for that boy to come home.
Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the world.
Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass.
I'd just like to share another poem with you. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles when life is done. I'd like to leave an echo whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. So now would you please join me in the Lord's Prayer, which is in your service sheet. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It is now time to make our farewell to Pam, whom will we always remember with great love and affection. There will be hours, days and weeks when the grieving of Pam will come and go. It will catch you unaware, but take comfort in the love of the community of your family and friends that surround you, and in the knowledge that in you her love will always endure. Pam's eternal love is her enduring gift to you. So we leave this service knowing that love is never changed by death. Our hearts still ache with sadness and many tears will flow. We hold Pam close within our hearts, and there she will remain to walk with us throughout our lives until we meet again. We give thanks to God for Pam's life. We remember with gratitude her deep love for her family, her sense of fun and her generous heart. And may the sun shine on her memory that we will cherish forever. Love is eternal, and those we love shall be with us through all eternity. So let us leave here at peace with ourselves and at peace with each other and our memories of Pam. Pam, may you rest in peace. Pam's family, thank you for all your attendance here today and for all your love and care during this sad time. At the conclusion of this service, Pam will be buried at the Barooga Cemetery, and following her burial, you are all invited to the Barooga Sports Club to share some refreshments and your memories of Pam, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of funny stories. So would the coffin bearers please come forward, and would you all please stand?
Walk away, leave with my blessing. Once in a while, let me hear from you. If we never meet again before my life is over, I'll leave this world loving you. You can take everything but my memories, for they're good ones and they'll see me through.
Just when I thought I had my life together, just when I thought there was no trace of you, you walked in the room full of friends, full of strangers, and you turned me around like you always could do. Just one look at you and my hand started shaking. The smile in your eyes said, this time I'll be true. My mind knows it's wrong, but my heart wouldn't listen. And you turned me around like you always could do. Round and around like a top when it's spinning, like a wheel when it's turning, my heart turns for you. And sometimes when you hurt me, I say this time it's over. Then you turn me around like you always could do.
Pamela Heath walked gently on this earth and gave to you and others without expectation. It is now time to farewell this beloved woman. At this final time of goodbye to Pam, it is our opportunity to say farewell, which is the rite of passage that allows us to finally let her go to her everlasting rest. We will look back with gratitude for having had Pam in our lives and that she shared her love and joyfully shared her life with us. Perhaps in these words of this verse you could hear Pam say, "When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set me free, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry when I'm set free? Miss me a little but not too long, and not with your heads bowed low. Remember the love that we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For this is a journey we all must take, and each must go alone. It's all part of God's master's plan, a step on the road to home. If you are lonely and sick at heart, go to the friends we know, and bury your sorrows in doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go." May every good thing that Pam has done in her life inspire us to follow her good example of compassion, charity, and generosity. Words are few, but thoughts are deep. Memories of you are ours to keep. A life made beautiful by kindly deeds, a helping hand for others' needs. Big was your heart, your friendship true, loved and respected by all you knew. We speak of you with love and pride. We smile through tears we cannot hide. Thank you for the happy memories shared, the love you gave, the way you cared. You've left a space that no one can fill. We miss you now and always will. May Pam's inspiring spirit continue to run free, accompanying us as we keep her in our memories forever and inspiring us to live on without her. May we model our future lives on Pam's ability to draw us together and share the love she leaves behind. We give thanks for her life. We remember with gratitude her deep love for her family, her sense of fun, and her generous heart. May the chill of darkness of death give way to the warmth and sunshine of her memory that we will cherish forever. So we now reverently and gently commit the body of our much-loved Pamela Heath to God's keeping, where she will rest forever. Love is eternal, and those we love shall be with us through all eternity. Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, you have given us a sure and certain hope of the resurrection of life. In your keeping are all those who have departed in Christ. We hereby commit the body of our dearly loved Pamela Heath to nature's keeping, earth to earth, ashes to ashes, and dust to dust, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Let us leave here at peace with ourselves and at peace with each other, and our loving memories of Pam. Pam, may you rest in peace. I would like to thank each of you today for attending this service, for the comfort and the condolences you have expressed to Pam's family, and to thank you for the kindness and friendship that you have shown Pam over the time that you have known her. I would like to remind you all that you are invited to share refreshments and fellowship of your memories of Pam at the Barooga Sporties now that this service has concluded. Thank you all, and if you feel like coming forward and placing a flower on Pam's coffin in her memory, you're very welcome to.
Can you hear them? Can you see them? Marching proudly across the moor. Hear the wind blow through the drifting snow. Tell me, can you see them, the ghosts of Culloden? Many bravely fought, and sadly they were slain, but they died with such pride and dignity. Their lives were not in vain. We still remember them. They fought to save their land and died for liberty. Can you hear them? Can you see them? Marching proudly across the moor. Hear the wind blow through the drifting snow. Tell me, can you see them, the ghosts of Culloden? Through the mist you'll hear a lonely piper play. Listen carefully, you'll hear a mournful cry. Swords and bayonets crash as man to man they clash. They came to fight to live, and now they die. Can you hear them? Can you see them? Marching proudly across the moor. Hear the wind blow through the drifting snow. Tell me, can you see them, the ghosts of Culloden? Can you hear them? Can you see them? Marching proudly across the moor. Hear the wind blow through the drifting snow. Tell me, can you see them, the ghosts of